Welcome to the Texas Truck Channel. I'm Craig, and behind me, I don't have Brian for once. Thank goodness. I have a bunch of 80 series, and that's what we really care about. Look at those things. That is awesome. No, I'm kidding. That's not what we're really here for. We're here for something else. It's called the all-new Land Cruiser. Boys and girls, it has been gone for a while. This is what we're getting. This is a first look. We're gonna do a walk around, get the interior, get under the hood. This thing is pretty cool. I'm very excited about this. I'm getting to do this because, let's be honest, I care more about the 80 series or the Land Cruiser than Brian does. One of the things they call this is they used 4 things when they were designing this, and I had to write these down, so I'm gonna look at my cheat sheet here. Authentic, reliable, timeless, and professional, which is why I'm keeping my glasses on, because it's professional. So, but let's talk about the styling of this. This thing is really cool. Look at that. It's just classic, old school, modern, with a blend of modern off-road look, Land Cruiser capability. We get the boxy headlights on this, which takes inspiration from the 60 series. You saw it in some of the teaser images probably. I like it. I think it looks really good. And they've done what everybody needs to do in the Toyota off-road world, is the block letters. We want block letters. Don't give us the Camry looking Toyota logo. We want the block letters. That looks really neat. Different than the 1958 edition is the headlights is the biggest difference. You get round in the 1958 edition. I'm sure it'll be interesting to see what owners do. Are they going to prefer the round? Do they want the square? That'll be interesting. We get fog lights here. These are rigid fog lights, which are actually, you can change the color from amber to white, which is pretty cool and very similar to the Tacoma. We get, don't know if we get radar cruise control. We'll check that in a minute. But look at the approach angle. We get an approach angle of about 30 degrees, which is very good and not going to be a problem. Get a nice, that's a metal skid plate there, metal there. They're not messing around with this thing. They mean business. It's not just for looks, it's not just for show. One of the criticisms of the outgoing 200 series is that it was kind of a mall cruiser. Yeah, it was overbuilt, it's very sturdy, but that sucker was expensive. It was $80,000 to $90,000, and yes, I love it too, and I want one as well. But this thing's gonna be more affordable for more people. This is the 250 series is what we're calling this sucker. Globally, that's what it's based on. And so, yeah, some people are gonna complain that it's not the 300 series, but here's the problem. If they'd have brought us back the 300 series instead of this, it would have been $80,000, $90,000. No one could have afforded it, and your keyboard warriors would have been happier, but you wouldn't have bought any of them. Toyota's trying to sell cars. This thing starts in the mid-50s. The base model, again, is the 1958 edition. We got another video on that. That starts in the mid-50s. That's a great bargain and a great deal. Let's move on to the tire here and see what we got. The Land Cruiser edition, we get a little bit more aggressive tire than the 1958 model. This is a Michelin LTX Trail, and the dimensions are somewhere in here. It's 265/70/18, which is a very standard tire size, which means basically you can get any tire you want in the world on that. The 1958 series had skinnier 245 series, and it was a little less meatier. This is a little meatier, but not a whole lot. I would imagine one of the first upgrades you'll see on this is a more off-road type tire. The wheel arch, I like the wheel arch. You get more of that flat shelf. I think it looks really good, a little more traditional, old school. And then looking here, one of the things I really like, I don't know if it shows up on camera, we get a double wishbone suspension that looks very eerily similar to the Tacoma we just looked at, which I think is a great thing, because that means we're going to get much more aftermarket support than we got in the old Land Cruiser, and that is a wonderful thing. Moving on to the wheel wells here. You get line wheel wells, so it should be pretty quiet. That's a very good trick there. On this one, you do get a step. This has got a few more options. I'm curious to see which version you like better. It's going to be very handy to get in and out, of course. You get black capped mirrors, which work. And then look at the profile of this thing. You get a really upright windshield, which is very traditional and very old school. I like the two-tone colors on this. You get blue, then a white roof with a little black strip in between. And it's not just paint, it's not a sticker. We've seen that before on something else. That's actual color there, so it's not gonna come off. I like that a lot. Moving on down, you get the nice window profile that kind of comes up at the back. Yeah, some people say it looks too similar to the GX550. Look, I just talked to the Land Cruiser product specialist. She says the GX550 looks like this, not the other way around, so you tell us. Let's do Brian's little fuel door check. It doesn't open, so I think they've got it locked here. Yes, they've got a little lock button. We hit the button and then it comes open. And of course a traditional cap, nothing too crazy there. Best thing though is it doesn't say premium, because again, we're bringing this Land Cruiser for the masses. This is the Land Cruiser for the people, not just for the mall cruisers. Let's look under here, because we get a multi-link suspension, which again should look very similar to a Tacoma. And that rear diff has also got something else with it we'll talk about when we get to the interior. Let's look at the back real quick. Looking at the back, pretty good styling. I like this. Again, traditional, very fun looking. I like the block letters, Toyota raised in the center badge, and then off to the left it says Land Cruiser, and they're raised. I think that looks really good. I think that's a nice touch. And then back here we get I-Force Max. We're going to talk about that more in a second, but let's talk about towing real quick. You get a departure angle of about 22 degrees, and you get a hitch back here. You get an 8-way or 4-way to tow up to 6,000 pounds, which is no slouch. The golden Land Cruiser ratio. Why did I mention that 80 series earlier? Here's the main reason why. This is the closest thing to an 80 series we've had in a long time. And what that golden ratio does for us, that golden ratio is a 112.2-inch wheelbase. Exactly the same as the old 80 series, which is awesome. And what that does is Toyota's determined back with the 80 series that that's the best combination for approach, breakover, and departure, and stability. That's the wheelbase it needs to be, and it's maintained here. It's the exact same. That's really cool. This is also a little narrower than the 200 series, which means it's going to be better on trails. And the frame is based on the TNGA-F architecture, which means it's got 20% more rigidity, which means it's actually even a little more durable as far as the frame goes. That's pretty cool. Now, let's check out under the hood. Checking out under the hood, we get the I-Force Max. We've seen this before in the Tacoma, and we get the same, we get one option here, and that's the only one we get, and there's nothing wrong with that. This sucker is good for 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. There's our favorite part right there, the turbo, big old turbo, which we like. And then, see the orange? That means it's hybrid. It means don't touch it. But what it also means is, it's not like Prius hybrid. It's hybrid in that it's going to help you do things hybrid. You're going to feel a little more punch. That's 48 horsepower that hybrid motor provides. It's sandwiched in between the transmission and the motor. And that going to help in towing. It's going to help in off-road situations. It's going to help in crawling situations. And it's going to help in something else when we get to the interior later. Fully boxed frame down here. Very beefy. And no big old clutch fan that was loud and noisy. A little more modern, a little more refined than we used to have. And that's really nice. Let's check out the interior. All right, checking out the interior of the all-new Land Cruiser 250 series. You're going to notice something that's very similar. There's that little triangle. Y'all have seen that before in GXs for a long time. That was the basically the US version of the Land Cruiser Prado, which is kind of what we're getting here. But you know what that means is we hit this button and we get a split hatch. That's really cool. Very convenient. Plenty of room back here. I can reach my groceries easier. I can reach my off-road gear, whatever it is I'm trying to grab, or who knows what I'm grabbing back there. That's very convenient. And then let's check out the hatch. Well, here, this one's actually auto. The 1958 edition is manual. So this does come up on its own, and it reveals plenty of space back here. You can see it's kind of elevated a little bit. One of the reasons it's elevated is we get batteries back there, but we get plenty of flat folding storage. You can fold these seats down and get plenty of storage. And this is a pre-pro, and I've got the seat up, so I can't, but that would fold flat, and you would have plenty of storage. You get a little storage underneath here to put goodies or recovery gear. Who knows what you want to put there. You get a spot for a jack stand there. And then over here, this is why we care that it's a hybrid. Look at this. You get not just 400 watts. A lot of times you just get 400 watts back here, which means you can't do anything. This is 2400 watt outlet. How cool is that? You get that straight from the factory. You get a 2400 watt outlet there that is kind of solves a lot of problems for overlanding, quote unquote. A lot of people like to go overlanding and they need a power source back here for cooking or lighting or whatever you're doing. That's going to power just about anything you're doing on the overlanding trip. So really cool. Let's move on to the second row. Again, this is a Pro. Interesting that we have cup holders back here and USB outlets. Not sure if that's going to continue in the final version, but for this one. All right, let's move on to this second row and check that out. So we got going back there. Moving on to the door, we get a nice door two-tone trim here. We got a brown and then the black, a little more soft touch than and JBL tweeter even in the door back here. So this is definitely a more premium trim, the Land Cruiser trim. Holds the phone, doesn't fall through. That's very nice for whether you have Brian's phone or Brian's wallet. And then we get pockets for water bottles back here. Pretty standard these days. Step is pretty handy when you get in the back here and you get a handle like the old Land Cruisers and a handle back here, which is very nice and everything should have. Plenty of room back here. I've got the seat set to where I would normally sit. Looks pretty good to me. I've got plenty of room. I'm actually recline quite a bit. You can recline this to put it wherever you want. I've got plenty of headroom in this sucker. Now, I got a little bit less than I did in the 1958 edition because the motor for the sunroof intrudes a little bit, so you lose a little bit of headspace in the back. Well, I say not too much. Right here where I'm sitting, I'm fine. It's not an issue. Got a vent back here in the upper ceiling. Map pockets back here on both sides, because look, you're in a Land Cruiser, you need a lot of maps. You get triple zone climate control up here, so dual zone up front, another zone back here. That's pretty nice. You don't get that in the 1958. And then a traditional charger and USB-C, USB-C. So time to get with the program boys and get past USB-A. We also get a nice little armrest right here, which works quite well, and it's in a good spot. And good sightlines back here. Like, you see pretty good. The windows, because it cuts down like kind of like a Super Duty, it's really low and you can see out really well. That's really nice. And look at the knee room I have here. Now, Brian's not here to check out headroom for him, but we'll definitely get our hands on one of these later, and we'll check all that out. Now, let's see if that moonroof is a problem with headroom up front. Probably won't be for me, but let's see how close I get to it. All right, moving on to the front row. Last but not least, let's check out the door here. We get memory seat functions, which we didn't get in the 1958 base trim. And of course, all your window controls and switches. You get another good door pocket there, which is good. It doesn't fall through. Water bottle holders. And of course, we get rubber matting here that say Land Cruiser. Looks pretty cool. I like this brown leather. I think it looks really good with this color combo. And let's see what we get in here. I'm going to put an accessory mode and kind of see the gauges in here. We get one of the first things we get here is a full gauge cluster, electronic gauge cluster. So we get dual gauges here. We get kind of what your battery doing, what's your speedometer doing. And it doesn't like that I'm doing any of this because the car's not started, but I'm not supposed to. We do get a bigger screen in here. I think this is 12.3 inches, and I like that it's landscape mode. It's less in your way than some of the truck models, so you get more visibility. And let's shut this door and see what that looks like. You shut the door and look, you get plenty of visibility out here. It looks really good, and man, look at that view. Oh, back to the show. But it's really good seating position. You get good sight lines. You feel like you're in control, but you don't feel too crammed. Plenty of room. But this definitely feels like it's going to be much more nimbler on the trails. Speaking of that headroom, I don't think it's going to be a problem. There's plenty of headroom. I've got this much headroom. I think even Brian's going to fit in here without having a problem. But we'll see. We'll get him in it later. Standard in the Land Cruiser trim is we get ventilated seats for passenger and driver. We get a heated steering wheel. We get the dual zone climate control. And here's one of those buttons we didn't get in the other one. We can change our views and our camera modes up there, which I'm sure they're going to be really good cameras, just like they are in most Toyota products these days. We get the drive modes. You can do the drive mode select here. We'll probably get different drive modes. This is a Pre-Pro, so that's a Toyota Mirai. That's normal mode. That's eco. And I'm sure we'll get more in the final one. This is probably not what we're going to get. Get a volume knob here, which is interesting placement, but works and functional. Tow haul button still exists. And you don't get a second gear start mode here, but you do get MTS here and downhill assist. We also get traction control buttons, center lock, which we've gotten in Land Cruisers forever since the, I don't know, 2001 100 series. But what we haven't had since the 2000 100 series is this right here. And that is the selectable rear electronic locker. That is a big deal, boys and girls. And we also get full-time all-wheel drive with a transfer to a low-speed transfer case. Push that and toggle it down to low gears for crawling options. Up here we get USB-C, 3 of them, 1 for probably the infotainment screen and 2 for charging. And we also get a wireless charging pad in the Land Cruiser trim. Plenty of cup holders, plenty of storage down here. Doesn't look like it's actually a fridge like the old ones, but let's be honest, who needed that? But last but not least, this little button here that was blank on the 1958 edition is not blank here. SDM, what does that stand for? Swaybar Disconnect is what I'm guessing. We'll see. Hard to tell here, but that's what that gets us there. With that, thanks for watching. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Please be sure to like and subscribe. That's how we get to make more of these. Let us know what you think about the all-new 250 series. Should they have gone a different way? Are you excited about this? We're pretty excited. Thanks for watching.